So 15 billion years ago, they say, we were completely one. We're just one mass of energy and matter, right? We know the story of the Big Bang. It's like we were all hugging together. To say that we're intimate would be an understatement. This was worse than sexual. Forgive me for saying that. We were so much in each other that they were inseparable. It's like all the potential of the universe, all of the possible matter and the different forms and the different experiences, all was condensed into one mass of energy. And then this exploded in every which direction, and started distancing it from certain parts of it were starting to distance from the other parts, and this kind of going farther and further away moved us to begin to take different forms and different shapes. Obviously, it took a long time until we came into being this. Perhaps this is the right story. But the spiritual story tells us exactly the same, that once we were one. We came from one source of life, and then forms began to take place. But I like the Big Bang because it gives us such an astonishing, almost a very erotic feeling, you see. It's like we are hugging each other. We were there. Do you remember? Seriously, do you remember? In a way, exactly. I'm not joking. It's not a manipulation. We remember. Ourselves remember, and any physicist, any biologist would take for granted, too much for granted, the fact that we are just one matter. That we are basically sharing the truth of oneness in an undeniable way. So we may think like that intellectually, but we don't think of the implication. We are actually essentially one. And then explosion, because there is also a different wish, a different desire in us. And this desire is to individualize. You see? It's a desire for differentiation. Which means that there are two parts in us, two elements. One is oneness, and the other is otherness. On the one hand, we have a memory of our original unity, that we are not different at all. On the other hand, we have a drive in us to also separate, to be apart, to be different, to be not like you, but like me, and so on and so on. And this is the reason that when we meet, and when you meet anyone else in the world, there is a strange feeling in the air. Something that we do not really acknowledge, perhaps consciously, but it is there. And this seminar is all about beginning to awaken this, this feeling of don't I know you from somewhere? When we look into each other's eyes, there is a strange sense of familiarity. And this familiarity can make us even feel a bit awkward. Socially, we are meant to be individuals, but there is some sort of a strange intimacy that we don't know very much what to do with. On the other hand, and that's what scares us just the same, is this sense of otherness. There is something there that is over there, that we don't understand completely, that is in a way mysterious to us because it is incomprehensible. It's not, we cannot reach it. And this duality between sameness and otherness is actually what life is all about. That's it. I've summarized what life is all about in one sentence. Good for me. That's why I'm talking for almost 20 years. Yes. You begin to say life is, and then you take 20 years, and even then you don't say anything. So, when we experienced the meditation just before, and perhaps we could notice that there was, on the one hand, sameness, and on the other hand, otherness. It's inside us, but it's also outside us. But still, it is something that is contained. So what is this? You see, and this it's almost, there is a sort of a strange tension. Because we live in a world of one, we still are others, strangers. We are familiar and we are strangers. We don't know each other at all, and we know each other very deeply. This creates something that I would call, I know it's not used usually for this context, but I would call hello. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, that's the first time. This tension is what we can call Eros, Eroticism. You see? Eros can be, they use it for very ridiculous context and very limiting. But in ancient Greece, there was a much deeper discussion of what Eros is all about, and this Eros that we're talking about is life. It's a sort of an erotic tension between sameness and otherness. And between the wish to unite, to become one with, and the wish to separate. And this is the thing. We have these two wishes. And these two wishes confuse us very much. They confuse us also in others. Because when we, for instance, enter a romantic relationship or have a child, there is a tendency in us to expect that there should be exactly this undifferentiated oneness, you see? It's like this longing to return to unity takes the form of hoping to be one forever with someone. Because there is so much bliss in feeling one with. It's like returning to the original state, so-called 15 billion years ago. That's why we love to hug, or we love to feel closeness. But of course, our hug and closeness, and because we don't appreciate the fact that these two urges are equally powerful and should be equally powerful, we in a way want to stop this urge for individualization, for separation. We want to have it forever. And that's where we project on others this expectation. When they dare to have their own wills, their own wish for individualization, we begin to become more demanding, emotionally offended. We don't understand how come that this oneness is broken. But of course, we're not being honest enough, since this wish for individualization works also in us. We also want to separate, to be different, to have our own wills, to move farther away. So this is the play. The play is this erotic play between two, where is it? Yeah, between these two urges. One, the oneness. This is the two realities: oneness and otherness. And then there is the erotic tension that flows from it, the feeling of a mysterious other, the other that we do not comprehend. That is the source of attraction, right? Also sexual attraction. In sexual attraction, there is a sense that something that we want is a mysterious other, we want to unite with. There is perhaps also a sense of greater familiarity or some sort of sameness, but it is contradicted also by something that is unachievable, that is far away from you. You want to break the tension. So there is the mysterious other, and then there is the hope for oneness. We hope, perhaps too much sometimes, and this gives rise to these two forms, to these two powers: unification and individualization. And the wish for unification, I give it a very nice term, and it even rhymes: the urge to merge. It's the urge to become one, to lose our separation, to feel that we are returning to this original oneness. Now I want to show you, if we're talking about ancient Greece, I want to show you a very short video that will perhaps give us some more feeling. Wait, I need to explain. There was a playwright called Aristophanes in ancient Greece, and Aristophanes, if you know the Plato's book, Plato's Creation Symposium. Have you heard of it? It's basically a bunch of male philosophers sitting together for one evening and discussing, and they used to have speech contests. Okay, who would give the best speech among them? That was a way to, I think, to invigorate their intellect and to a sort of philosophical tension, healthy one. but they were also laughing at each other and so on, and teasing each other. You saying your speech is nonsense, and now I will give a much better speech. So then there is symposium, and a bunch of philosophers, including Socrates, sit together, and one of them is Aristophanes. And Aristophanes was a playwright, and he gives, and they decided that evening to argue about what Eros is. What is Eros? Just like we mentioned before. And then came Aristophanes, and he came with a sort of his own myth of creation. He tells how Eros came into being. So it's very funny. It's actually it's a real delight to read it. You may want to read it. But it's long, so instead we watch a 1-minute video. Yeah. So it's called What is Love? Love is, again, it's a translation from the Greek eros. This is how they tend to call it, but of course it's much more refined than that. What is love? The myth of the missing half. So that's an interesting version or an interesting theory about why we feel sometimes like halves. If we can return the board, please. Thank you. Why we feel longing for unity. This is again the very same principle that we have some kind of a memory, an ancient memory of being a part of a whole, being unable to retrieve it, and it's all because of brutal Zeus that we are now in this state, but of course not really. This is Aristophanes' way to explain why we have this erotic specifically here erotic desire for physical union or for emotional union. But here we are talking about something that is even bigger than that. It is this urge to merge, to lose our boundaries of the self, lose our definition, and become one with, dissolve into something greater. Now we've already said that is not possible. It's not possible to completely lose this otherness, also because we don't fully want it. We don't fully want it, neither do others. Why? Because in the same way, we have this urge for individualization. As long as we don't understand this very simple principle, we can find ourselves very miserable in relationships. Because when we speak of intimacy, we expect somehow intimacy to be all-pervading, like something that is uninterrupted. We have a sort of a dream of being one and never again feel this otherness. So that makes us very often in relationships possessive, you see? When you realize that you cannot fully become one with somebody, what do you do instead? Possess him or her. You see, you own them. And then you try to to keep them under your influence, under your wish for unification. So when we begin to maturely understand that we have these two urges, and that this is the nature of life, and life is always this erotic tension, and it's all about this play, still we want to know when it is possible from time to time to be able to create the conditions for true intimacy. You see? Because what we say, we must have this experience as a part of our life. If we don't have it, if we only experience the wish to individualize, to be separate, to be different, to be myself, we are almost destroying a part in ourselves that is a very deep heart longing. In our society, the urge to merge has been quite repressed, suppressed under the wish to individualize. This is what everyone is glorifying nowadays, to be yourself, live your own life, follow your dreams, and so on, and have your own perspective, and that is great. It's great to individualize, sometimes. I will answer any questions quite soon, okay? And then I will give enough time. If you have questions, just hold them for a little while. So it's great to have this wish to individualize, but if that is all our experience of life, we are basically destroying a longing to experience the sameness, the oneness, and also the relief or the release from our boundaries, which are pretty burdensome sometimes. Now, we've already said we don't need to create intimacy. Intimacy is not something that you are making out of nothing, but something that you're beginning to reveal. But what you do need to do is to create the right conditions to reveal intimacy. Do you understand the difference? So we create the conditions, and from time to time we must have them with those who share as well the urge to merge. Now, this is our problem. We want people to share the urge to merge like us at the same time, and the specific people that we expect. And that is, of course, not fair. Because this is already not the urge to merge, this is the urge of subtle violence, you see? Because if you begin to tell someone, now unite with me, you will get not exactly the hoped result, you see? Because most probably at that very moment they have the wish to individualize stronger. So they're not with you. And to experience true intimacy, you need others who are miraculously synchronized with you at a certain point. Perhaps not with the same intensity, but at least with the intention or the agreement that this is the right time. And of course, if that happens in a forceful way, wanting it to remain forever or something like that, that has already fear in it. Do you understand? The play of life is moving between these two forces. And when you live with these two forces at peace, you can give space. And from this space, there is actually, well, much better chances for true intimacy. And we'll talk in the afternoon about what are the right conditions for true intimacy. We will be very detailed about it to explain, also for the sake of our own experience here together. Obviously, if you are here on this weekend, you have come because you have some interest in the experience of it. So, let's take a look at oh, that's also there. Let's take a look at the conclusions that arise from this very simple principle. One, we understand it all already. I'm just repeating it or summarizing it. One is that intimacy is both personal and impersonal, which means that it can be between specific people under specific conditions, but it is also much more essential. It is much more primordial. It is a feeling or an experience that doesn't start with our current relationships or the relationships that we hope to have. And therefore there is a conditional intimacy, which means when I share with specific people some specific interest in a specific time. You see? We are excited about something. You know, when we know this vision when people go together to church, or they go together to a soccer game, or they go together to a rock concert. So they experience this unity because they share the same interests. They all want their soccer group to win. They all want their religion to prevail. They all love the same artist. So then there is a sort of an experience of return to original oneness, but obviously this is conditional, right? It's not something that is all-encompassing. It is actually the defense of that group. They hope for the others to be defeated. You see, so their unity is in the hope or the defense of the rock stars. They always think my rock star is the best. It's not like the other rock star who is nothing or is not as good. So there is a much more essential and unconditional true intimacy. And it has nothing to do with specific people or when they satisfy you, when they're synchronized with you. It is unconditional, it is essential, it is it is existential. And we must start from it before we are moving to anything else. Actually, when you have this, you will have far less need for the conditional intimacy. Do you understand? It's far less acute because the heart that is hungrily screaming, give me that that intimacy can have it with every breath you take. The second conclusion is that it is essential to experience true intimacy from time to time. You can never live only with individualization. Of course you can, but in a suffocating way. Because we, in our age of individualization, we all live in separate lives and very alienated life. We have transformed all our urge to merge to sexuality and romantic relationships. This is where we put our money, you see, because this is the social norm. This is where things are usually experienced, but of course this makes sexual and romantic relationships very complicated because they can't carry this burden by themselves. They cannot satisfy it, and basically all the tensions that we have in relationships, they can be reduced to this wish for unification, wish for the individualization, and the gap between them. So 3, don't expect it to last. Don't cling to it like, okay, this is it. This must never go away. Enjoy also the otherness. Enjoy the separation. It's healthy. It's great. You also want it, right? We enjoy to be ourselves. But we cannot be ourselves for a long time, and we cannot be in unity in this world. It's not possible. 4, agree to recognize and give in to the urge to merge. And that is what we are basically doing here on these 2 days. On these 2 days, we learn to acknowledge the urge to merge. To begin to allow our heart to recognize this urge and to follow it, to give it a chance. Because obviously true intimacy takes place when the urge to merge takes over. When for even temporarily I give up completely the urge for individualization. I say, okay, for some time I'm not going to treat it. I'm treating it all my life. So why not give the urge to merge the chance to take over completely, 100%. And in such moments, in such situations, what we basically do is we allow this invisible, hidden reality of our original oneness to come to the surface. We realize it, we make it happen. We make it visible. We may be afraid of it. The urge for individualization tells you don't do it, you see? Because it always tells you to keep your boundaries. Actually, psychological health is considered the capacity to define oneself very well, to define one's boundaries, to know where you start, where you end, right? That's called health. Mentally, emotionally, you know your boundaries, you know when to say no. You know why you say yes when you say yes, and all that. Well, we're practicing this quite a lot. But the thing is that giving in to the urge to merge does not mean that we are losing the individualization. Do you see? You cannot lose it, even if you really want it. You will be thrown back to it, you see. You cannot lose the boundaries. So when you know that, you're actually starting to realize that it is actually empowering for our individuality to be able to lose boundaries. It is enriching. And the greatest irony is that these are our greatest, deepest moments of bliss in life. Because there's nothing like returning to our original state. Being an individual feels a bit like living in a rented flat. You see? Like you live in a strange city, very far away from your family, very far from your land. Nothing is familiar, you see? So it's an important experience, but it doesn't feel like home. So the fifth conclusion is that intimacy can be any layers of our being unifying with those of the others. What does that mean? We will talk about it tomorrow morning much more, but there can be an intimacy of our bodies, right? When there is the urge to merge working on our bodies, when our bodies give in to this urge, there can be the experience of one body, even momentarily, right? Not even momentarily. We could never have one body except for in Aristophanes' play, which looks very awkward, as you can see. Because he also placed them, they could never face each other, you see. So even the original state feels like a bit tragic comic, or comic tragic, whatever order. So there can be a unity of bodies momentarily. There can be a unity of minds momentarily, a unity of hearts, and a unity of spirits. And there can be a unity of more than one of those layers. Imagine unity of body, mind, heart, and spirit. That's quite dreamy, because it's very rare. And so when we begin to accept that this is rare and this is temporary, we learn to cherish these experiences. There is the deepest unity that is in a way uninterrupted is the unity of our spirit with the spirit of the world. But even with this unity, you still need to experience, in a way, your differentiation. But still you can say that this is the most uninterrupted state. Nobody can take it away from you. With people, with other bodies, with other minds that have their own wills and their own passions and so on, it's magic when it happens. So it is important to know that it is possible. It is possible to experience a state of one heart, or even one mind. Some people can't imagine that minds can blend, but because minds feel so distinctly intellectual, but that is also possible. The sixth conclusion is relax into the intimacy that already is. Whenever you feel tension with people, whenever you feel that there is a strangeness in the air that is the result of, remember, this duality. It's inevitable. It's okay to feel it also. Then, instead of making an effort to get close, just breathe and into a sense of closeness that already exists underneath your effort. And the seventh is you can create opportunities to reveal it. This is what we're going to learn to do on our weekend. How it is possible to enable intentionally, deliberately this kind of temporary unions that satisfy so much our heart. I think that what makes intimacy so extraordinary is the fact that it is the simultaneity of being one and the same and different, you see? So in that sense we can say that life is this erotic tension, and intimacy is that which fulfills this tension. We're never just blending into indistinguishable mass of energy. It's both at the same time, and that's what makes it so interesting.